Hey folks, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Ziply Fiber is launching 10 gig internet service in their 4-state service area up in the Northwest. Be right back and we'll see what that looks like. Hey, thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. And I wanted to show you this. I thought it was interesting. Just make some comments on it. So Ziply Fiber launches 10 gig residential internet across 4-state fiber footprint. Stakes claim as fastest ISP in the Northwest. So this is Ziply's press release. So 10 gig probably, I'm assuming that's XGS-PON. I think that's the technology they'd be using as opposed to just GPON. So XGS-PON that they're launching in these 4 states. Service is available now, delivered by Ziply Fiber's 10 gig fiber network, and is 100% fiber from Ziply's Fiber's core network to the customer router. That's a 100 gig core. So a couple of interesting things about this. First, that they're targeting this, so to speak, at the home internet customer. However, this is something where they're not going to get many home customers for this product. This is just to be able to tout that they've got the fastest internet around, the fastest in the Northwest, and one of the fastest, as you see here. Ziply Fiber today announced the launch of its 10 gig home internet service across its 4-state footprint in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. The launch also definitively makes Ziply Fiber the fastest home internet service provider in the Northwest and one of the fastest in the nation. Harold Zietz, CEO of Ziply Fiber, said, This new speed tier is widely available today throughout our 4-state fiber footprint. We've already installed this service for customers in several cities, and they're absolutely loving the speed and reliability Ziply Fiber is delivering. So again, this is XGS-PON and GPON that's backward compatible. So as internet service provider, especially folks new to the business like Ziply, as they're installing fiber in places, they are most likely doing XGS-PON because the price of those cards have come down. So there's not that much of a difference, I think, between GPON and XGS-PON. And what it does is it gives you the ability to do gig PON to somebody and then 10 gig PON to somebody. So you can offer it. But again, not a lot of people are going to take you up on that. There's no need really for any home user to have 10 gig PON. There's really not much of a need for any home business to have 10 gig PON, but it's something that they can tout. Just like, fiber providers want to tout symmetrical service because it's something that they can do fairly easily, really easily compared to a cable operator and certainly a DSL operator, and fixed wireless is hard to do symmetrical. So fiber is great for that, although again, symmetrical service is really not that important. If you have high download speeds and you've got a reasonable upload speed, generally that's going to be plenty for most people. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. Most of what you're doing is receiving the data and not necessarily putting out data. So. But again, they're able to tout this. So this launch supports Ziply Fiber's ongoing mission to build the region's fastest, most reliable fiber network and deliver rural and smaller communities the kind of connectivity only regularly seen in large metro areas. In the case of 10 gig service, not even seen in large urban areas. Ziply Fiber's commitment to the Northwest is unmatched. The company recently announced its 100th new fiber market and first edge-out market since it began its extensive fiber expansion efforts in the summer of 2020. So got to give these guys credit. They started in 2020 by purchasing some frontier territory and infrastructure, and they've gotten lots of money. I think $450 million from investors late last year. They've got like 4 investors that have been providing those funds, and this is something that they can be proud of. So they got this 10 gig network, as I mentioned. A lot of urban areas might not even have that. 100 new fiber markets and the edge out market. So that would be in an area, I'm assuming what they're saying there is an area where they did not have any infrastructure at all. So it wasn't formerly frontier, and they're edging out into markets where they were not before. Now here's where the catch comes. Ziply Fiber's new 10 gig service plan costs $300 per month and comes with both static IPv6 and IPv4 addresses. There's also a one-time $300 installation fee. Customers can either provide their own router with an SFP plus port. That's a small factor plugin, I think, for fiber that is capable of 10 gig speeds, or lease one from Ziply Fiber for $10 a month. Additional hardware, including having a 10G capable computer, is necessary to maximize use of the 10G service. So I'm assuming they're going to need that. Probably your traditional Wi-Fi is not going to work. They're probably going to need Wi-Fi 6, probably Wi-Fi 6E, which would be the 6 gigahertz spectrum. And as they mentioned here, a computer that can handle these kinds of speeds. So it's not cheap, $300 per month, $300 startup fee. There's no, I don't think there's any monthly commitment, and there's no usage caps on this. So again, kudos to them for keeping up the technology and making this available. But not a lot of people are going to take this. I would think a small office, home office might, but as we'll see here in a minute, if you say you're a business, I think they might charge you more. Certainly, if you're in an office location, they're going to probably charge you more. And I'm not sure why. I guess, well, they're going to use more. An office is going to use more, but again, home users don't really need this speed, but it is available for those who want it. And they've got some quotes in here of people that took the service that are happy. So I'd be curious to know what they're doing at home, if they just are broadband files, so to speak, that have to have the latest in broadband, or they're doing things from home. It's also interesting that they mention a static IP address here for either IPv4 or 6, because generally when you need that, because you're hosting a server of some kind, because you don't want to be getting a dynamic address. You want people to be able to know what IP address your server is at. So again, that to me is more business-like. Normally you might have a web server or other things that you're doing. It's not necessarily a home user, residential user for doing those types of things. So a couple of other things I wanted to show here. So this says their story. So again, headquartered in Kirkland and Everett, Washington, and offices in more than 25 cities and towns in their 4-state territory. And again, it says here, Ziply Fiber formed in May of 2020 when it acquired the Northwest operations of Frontier Communications, started by former Wave Broadband executive Steve Weed and Harold Zeitz. Since then, they say we've expanded fiber service in 100 new markets with 1,700 miles of new fiber built. So Frontier was really struggling at the time. I think it was Frontier that went bankrupt and emerged from that. And a lot of it had to do with not being in fiber and having DSL and not being able to upgrade that infrastructure and losing subscribers. So here's the guys, Zeitz and Steve Weed, that took that over. So that's their About Us page. So pricing wise, actually I was going to show this. This is a telecompetitor article on the same press release. So they talk about the press release here, reference that. But a few little fun facts here. Ziply Fiber has made several moves during the past few months. Early last month, the company acquired fiber internet and fixed wireless internet provider Petra. The company has more than 4,000 subscribers in 4 counties in eastern Washington and northern Idaho. So I don't know if they'll be overbuilding that with fiber. Well, it says fiber internet and fixed wireless internet provider, so I guess they do both. During the same week in March, Ziply Fiber said it was upgrading existing copper infrastructure in 4 markets in Washington and Oregon. The first 2 markets, Banks and Riddle, Oregon, already had some upgraded services. So again, this is upgrading their existing, I guess, old Frontier DSL probably infrastructure, copper infrastructure with fiber. In January, the company said it was partnering with GTT Communications to establish a point of presence to serve the growing data center market in Portland. The goal is to expand GTT's global Tier 1 IP network by adding connection options to 11 major data centers in the Hillsboro, Oregon subsea cable landing station. And then December 2022, they said that it would acquire iFiber Communications, which at the time was owned by public utility districts in western, central, and eastern Washington. So they've been very active. And again, you see here the investments are being supported by $450 million in new funding announced last September. And you see the companies here that invested in them: Wave Division Capital, Searchlight Capital Partners, Public Sector Pension Investment Board is interesting, and British Columbia Investment Management Corporation and Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. So those are the folks investing in Ziply Fiber. So here's their page on the multi-gig speeds. So you can see here they've got, in addition to the 10 gig, they've got a 2 gig option for $80 a month, 5 gig option for $120 a month, and then 10 gig for $300 a month. And you can see here, looks like they've got an introductory price on this $80 a month plan, standard $90 months after. So that goes up to $90. No annual contract or data caps though. So I'm not sure how that's not a contract. If you get an introductory price, maybe if you quit, I guess you just quit during that time, but you can get it for $80 a month during that time. And then you get your 5 gig and your 10 gig. But what I found more interesting was this page, fast fiber net for as low as $20 a month, up to $520 a year savings with fiber gig, free internet if you qualify for ACP. They don't pay you money, but you'll get free internet. Next level speeds with 2 and 5 gig. So they've got, so the next level speeds would be the page we were just looking at, and they don't have the 10 gig on here yet on this page. So you see fiber 50/50, so $20 a month. So I started in this business back in 1995 as when we were, the company that this company grew out of, Zecorum, when that was a dial-up internet provider here in Atlanta. And we were providing dial-up internet service when I started. It was mostly 28.8. I think we were getting some 33K modems in at the time, and eventually got up to 56K modems. And the going rate at that point, I think when I first started, might have been $24.95, and then some folks, I think AT&T or somebody came out with a $19.95 product, which we had to match. So it was $19.95 a month. So it was $20 a month for that dial-up internet service. So here's a fiber 50x50 fiber connection. That's a good speed. That's over the current broadband definition, and it's certainly, even if broadband goes to 100x20 or 100 symmetrical, that's still good service for $20 a month. There's a lot you can do with a 50/50, 50 megabit per second symmetrical account for $20. So that is nice service there. Again, I don't think there's any, yeah, it doesn't mention, there's plan details here we won't go into, but so again, that's a nice choice. And as I mentioned, if you have the ACP, that's free for you. In fact, they should just go ahead and provide a maybe 100 meg symmetrical plan for $30, because if they're doing 50x50 for 20 and they've got a 200x200 for 40, why not just throw a 100 meg symmetrical in there for $30, and then somebody with the ACP can get 100 meg free, because they can get this one for free. Like I say, they can't get the extra $10. That's not going to be paid to them, but they can get the $20 subsidy for this plan. And if there was a $30 plan, they could get a $30 subsidy from Ziply. And then they've got a gig for $60 a month. That's a nice price for $60 a month for gig service. That's very, very comparable to, in fact, lower than what you'll get in a lot of places. So that's a nice plan as well. And then lastly, it's, again, this 10 gig plan seems to be, to me, something that would only be useful to somebody that has a business, again, that's got a server where they're going to be transferring lots of data, be taking in a lot of data, really primarily an office, not so much a home office. I mean, I'm thinking of an office with lots of computers and servers, those kinds of things. So it's interesting that they've got business internet here that works for you. They have fiber and DSL, but for fiber, so they've got 100x100 fiber for businesses at $50 a month, or they've got 500 symmetrical for $100 a month. So this 100x100 for $50 a month, how does that compare? So here's 200x200 for $40 a month. So for your home user, you can get faster speeds for less money. Here you can get a gig for 60. Here you can get half a gig for 100. So again, these are aimed at businesses. So I guess if they know you're a business, they know you're going to be using more data, then you have to pay more. So there is a reason to charge a business more, because again, it's going to be somebody like an office that's going to have lots of computers on the network, be doing lots of things. Maybe have servers are going to be doing lots of uploading of data, maybe web servers, those kinds of things. But yet their 10 gig product for $300 a month, again, I don't know what the use case is for that, if it's supposed to be residential. There's just not many folks that are going to need that. So it's the kind of thing where maybe if somebody feels like they need the fastest, best thing around, they're going to do that. Or if they're in a really unusual situation, maybe they are hosting some kind of server at home and they need a static IP and they're going to be doing lots of data transfer, then maybe that's needed. So anyway, so they can tout this. Again, it's great that they're out there, that they've taken over this territory that was formerly Frontier, and that they're making good use of the funds that they're getting. And I'm assuming they're going to be looking at maybe some federal funding in some areas where that would be applicable, especially if they've got DSL infrastructure somewhere. If they could hold off on upgrading that and see if they could get some funds to do that, that will help them expand further there. So kudos to Ziply. But again, most of what they're touting there is the kind of thing that a lot of people are not going to get. So I don't know what kind of uptake they're going to get on the 10 gig product. Thanks for joining me. If this was interesting or helpful, if you'd give me a like on the video, I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button right there on YouTube, not on the screen next to me because that's not really a button. But go ahead and click on YouTube, the subscribe button. Click the little bell to be notified when I'm live. And if you're an internet service provider and you need help, check us out at zecorum.com. We can help you with everything from broadband deployment kinds of things, pre-deployment, deployment, post-deployment, help desk services for your subscribers, diagnostics, CALIA compliance, cybersecurity. I'll be talking about that soon. If you have cybersecurity needs, especially if you're going to be getting BEAD money, you need to be doing cybersecurity. Reach out to us and we will talk to you about that because we have a product that we are just now launching on the cybersecurity area. So thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.